What are James and Harjo hearings? I'm Judge Attorney James Worth, and we're talking about criminal defense and certain hearings and what they're for. And this video is about the James and Harjo hearings and what those are. And that involves statements made by co-conspirators and their admissibility to prove guilt of the people involved in the conspiracy. And it goes back to a ruling from the United States Supreme Court in 1987. And that was 483 U.S. 171. And here's the quote from the United States Supreme Court. Co-conspirator statements, where made in the course and in furtherance of the conspiracy, have a long tradition of being outside the compass of the general hearsay exclusion. Accordingly, we hold that the confrontation clause does not require a court to embark on independent inquiry into the reliability of statements that satisfy the requirements of Rule 801D2E. So essentially what this is talking about is the right to confrontation in hearsay rules, where you're dealing with trying to prove a conspiracy, where you're trying to admit the statements out of court of one person in the conspiracy against another person. And generally you would say, well, that's hearsay. That's a statement that someone else is testifying to incriminate somebody else. And also it's a violation of the right to confrontation, which is constitutional. If I'm being convicted based on a statement that was made by this alleged co-conspirator, but that person is not actually being brought before me in court where I can cross-examine them, then I do not have a right. I've lost my right to confront my accuser. Nonetheless, in these limited circumstances, the United States Supreme Court said that it is admissible, it's not hearsay, and it does not violate confrontation. So for trial practice perspective, that makes that's a difficult thing to deal with. Because how do we know what is admissible if the court has not yet determined, was there conspiracy? When did the conspiracy begin? When did the conspiracy end? What were the means and ends of that conspiracy, and what statements were in furtherance of that conspiracy? If we're trying to find that all out in front of a jury, then the jury is going to receive prejudicial information that we later determine is not admissible based on their findings related to the conspiracy. So that's where we get the James and Harjo hearings, and what that provides is that the defendant has a right to an in-camera hearing outside the presence of a jury, where evidence is put on to determine, was there a conspiracy? Who was involved in the conspiracy? When did it begin? When did it end? What were the goals of the conspiracy? And what statements were in furtherance of the conspiracy by the co-conspirators and therefore admissible? So the James and Harjo hearing is to determine the admissibility of all of these statements before the trial starts, before the jury, so that the jury does not get prejudicial information that is later determined to be inadmissible based on the confines of the conspiracy. So if you're dealing with that complicated issue or have other questions related to criminal offense in Oklahoma, you're going to want to talk to an attorney about your specific circumstances. To do that, you can go online to speak with somebody at my office, get it scheduled at makelaweasy.com.